Right, let's make some panels. Now, if you're going to make a comic using Clip Studio Paint, you'll probably want to open up a document with the comic settings. But I'm not going to do that because firstly, I'm going to make a separate video about comic book sizes, and secondly, because I'm using my comic Douleur as an example here, and I didn't use comic settings, or panels, which was a little dumb, but here we are. So you'll need to know where you want your panels to go, so hopefully you've already got some roughs to guide you. To get to our frames, we're going to press U on the keyboard twice, or go down to this icon here. Select the frame rectangle and draw one big frame that will cover the page like this. Now we need to cut this bad boy up. To do that, we'll go over to the cut frame border panel and you should have two subtools. There are two ways you can go about this, and so use whichever way makes the most sense to you. Before we begin, you'll probably want to adjust the vertical and horizontal gutter because the default settings will probably be a bit too small. With that the correct size, we're simply going to slice up this panel into little panels following our rough pencils. As you can see, by cutting our panel up this way, we've created a new folder for each new frame. This might make sense to you if you like to organize each panel separately, but if you want to work with fewer layers, then divide the frame border, not the frame folder. That'll keep everything in one folder and keep things a bit more simple. I'm leaving mine like this because I think it gives a bit more freedom to edit stuff. Before I move on, rename your folders. Get into this habit early on because it will save you a lot of headaches down the line. Now we're going to go into one of these panel folders, rename this layer as our pencil layer and start drawing. I already have the pencil layer here, so I'm good to go. One of the main benefits of creating actual panels is that your line work is going to be contained within the panel borders, which keeps the page clean. If you want to change the shape of your panels, head over to Operation and then select the frame layer you want to change. You'll notice these points along the border, which you can adjust to change the frame shape. Bear in mind that when you change the shape of one panel, the other panels will be adjusted too. This is useful if you want to do something like this, because it keeps everything nice and uniform. But if you only want to change one panel, you'll need to go to the tool property. For me, it says keep gutters aligned, and so click the button next to that and select none. This means you only adjust the panel you're selecting. Useful if you want to overlap panels. Speaking of overlapping, you may want your artwork to burst out of the frame's borders. Probably the simplest way of doing this is to simply have the artwork that is overlapping the frame above the frame layer. So if your frame layer is here, you just pop a layer above it and draw over. If your page is super complicated, then this might be a bit of a headache for you, but if you're good at organization and naming your layers, you shouldn't find it too confusing. The other way is a way that I've not used in practice yet, and so I'm not in the best position to explain it. I've left a webinar from Clip Studio Paint where artist PJ Holden explains how he cuts shapes from the frames using the polyline frame, so check that out. The final thing is frame styles. If you don't want the basic box frame that is the default, you can change the way it looks by going back to Operation and selecting a panel. With that selected, scroll down in the tool property to the bottom where you can see brush shape. Open up the box next to it and you'll see lots of different types of brush style that you can select to make your panels look a bit different. My personal default setting is to just use boxes from the shape tool and not actually use frames. If that sounds like you, then take it from someone who is a basic bitch. The frames on Clip Studio Paint are really useful. I'm certainly going to be using them for my next comic project, and you should too. And with all of that, you should be good to go to put together a comic. If anything about this was confusing or you're getting different results than I did in this video, then let me know in the comments below. Next week, we're going to look at comic book sizes, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. I've been Brinkley, have fun drawing, and I'll see you in the next one.